What I'm going to teach is stops of light. This is considered stops of light. What I'm going to teach is called stepping, where you actually can learn steps to quickly go back to when you want to reference it. Up here, we're just going to say we're at 100 ISO right now. Up here I have the shutter speeds, and right here I have your apertures. And remember, our shutter speed is how long the shutter's open. Apertures, how big the opening is. The lower the number with the aperture, the wider the shutter. The higher the number, the smaller the shutter, the less light in. Shutter speed, the lower the number, like 1/30, the longer the shutter's open. The higher number, 1/4000, the shorter the shutter's open. So let's say, for example, let's say this is f8, right? Okay, and we're at 100 ISO. Let's say at f8, at 1/60th, we are exposed properly. Yeah. And the mic down. We are exposed properly right here. Okay? Normally, when you're taking pictures, maybe 1/60 is too slow. You want to speed that up to say 1/125. The cool thing with this chart is, where would you go for that? If you look, go right there. So now you just opened up your aperture more to let more light in. Now you're at f5.6 at 1/125. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you just now, all you did was you said, I want to be at a faster shutter speed because that's too slow. So you're changing one property. So you change that one property, but now the image is darker by a stop. So you have to change your aperture to counteract that. So by doing that, what you just did is you kept the same exposure. If you were right here, if you stayed right, if you just stayed right here, per se, so you're f8 at 1/125, it would be a stop darker. So it would be a darker image by doing that. So to offset the dark image, you change your aperture, you open it up, make it wider, let more light in. So now's the fun part. I'm going to test you. Come up here, Jamie.
No.
Come on. Okay. So, marker. I want you're at 1/60 at f8, you're exposed, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I want you to go to f11. What shutter speed will you need to go to?
You need to go 1/30.
Mm-hmm. So draw a little mark there. Okay. So now, I want you to go to your exposed at f11 at 1/30, at f8 at 1/60, but I want you to go to f2.8.
Okay.
What would you need to do to keep the same exposure at f2.8?
You need to increase the shutter speed.
By how much? You can count it. Like start here, right?
74.
Yeah, so count up.
Count this or
count
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, now count 4 over that way.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep. And if you notice something, we just did. Notice the line right there?
Mm-hmm.
So, given that, if we wanted to go to f4, we'd be at 1/250. If we wanted to go to f5.6, you see that?
Right.
So by doing that, we now are able to keep the same exposure over this, right? While changing our aperture and changing our shutter speed to keep the same exposure.
Right.
So that's basically the gist of it. Now here's the fun part. So do you understand this?
I get that, yeah.
You get this? Okay. Now your digital SLR will be in 1/3 stops, and I'm not going to get into that, but normally in my head I try to stay in these range. You can remember these normally and try to go off that. So let me see a marker.
Why do you go to 1/3 instead of halves?
Well, your camera defaults at 1/3.
Yes, but why? Why would you not want to go to half stops?
That's a good question, Jamie. Why don't you tell us?
I changed mine to half stops because it was just easier for me to think of dividing by 2 rather than by 3.
Oh, yeah. 1/3 is a little more finer adjustments. But I guess considering raw images, if you're off by a tiny bit, it's not that bad.
Yeah, so that's the one I did.
Alright, so here's where the fun part comes in. Alright, so we're dealing with
I
flash,
was just
right?
wondering if there's a better reason than just making it easy for me to figure.
Yeah. So we're going to be dealing with flash, right, coming up. We're going to be doing flash. So that adds another aspect to this. So what we're going to do is we're going to assume that our shutter speed is going to be, say, 1/250th. We're going to leave our shutter speed at 1/250th. We're going to leave our ISO at 1/100. And now we're going to go, and when we start getting into studio flashes, it's quite important. And that's why I'm giving you an idea of what it is right now. So, I think I should start with 1/1 over here, right? I think, yeah.
I think, maybe.
1/1, 1/2. Wait. 1/2. 1/4. 1/8. 1/16. 1/32. 1/64. And 1/128. That's about as low as most go. Okay, so.
That's not much at all.
Huh?
That's not much light at all.
No, barely anything. So basically, 1/1 is full power, right? And then basically, as we were talking about here, you know, we were stops of light. We're basically halving the light each time we go. So what we're doing here is halving the light each way we go. So here, this is half of the light of f2.8. This is half of the light of f4. This is half the light of f5.6. This, you know, you get where I'm going with that? So this is half of the light also. So now, we're going to do this, let me write, 250. Yeah. Okay, where's your eraser? I'm going to look horrible in this video. Okay. So we're going to do basically the same thing. Except now, say our ambient exposure is 1/250th of 100 ISO. And now what we're going to do is we're going to play with the f-stops and play with our power settings on the flash that exposes our person. It's the same thing. So say we're at f8 at 1/2 power, right? Where would we go if you wanted to go to f5.6?
Now you have to increase.
f5.6 would be, it would allow more light in. It's bigger hole.
Okay, so you go.
So what would we do with the flash? Would we turn the flash up or turn the flash down?
Turn it down.
Turn it down.
Go to 1/4.
Yes. So we go here. So it's the same type of concept. You see? So I'm probably blocking it. So if we wanted to go to f4 and keep the same light, we go to 1/8. You know, 1/8 power. If we want to go to f2.8, we go to 1/16. And again, we end up with that type of curve. So we just substituted our shutter speeds to our flash power. This will not affect the background. When I said 1/250th of 100 ISO, we already determined that our background is roughly the ambient light's exposed at that. So we decide that and lock that into our camera. So you have to decide that before you start going into this. But once you decide that, most of the time you can really lock it in, and then you just have to worry about this. So say you can't get to your flash, right? So say you're at f8 at 1/4 power, right? You're exposed at f8 at 1/4 power. But you don't have time. Well, say you're underexposed by a stop at f8. But you don't have time to go up here and change your flash power. So you're at f8, 1/4 power, but you're underexposed to stop. What would you do to quickly fix that situation?
Change your F.
Your f-stop?
Yeah.
Where would you put your f-stop to allow more light in?
You'd have to lower it.
Yeah.
Put it at F6.
F5.6 you mean?
F5.6, yes.
You would bump it up, or make it wider, make it more open to F5.6. To now, that's the same as if you increase the power. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, now I'm letting a stop more light in. As I discussed earlier, your aperture controls your flash power, your shutter speed controls the ambient light. So we couldn't get over to our flash to adjust the power. The wedding's going on, the bride's running around. You take a picture, you're like, oh no, it's underexposed slightly. The first thing you're gonna go to is, do I have room on my aperture to be able to do that? Now if you're at f2.8 and you're underexposed, and you're like, oh no, I'm at f2.8, and your lens only goes to f2.8, you're gonna have to go over to your flash and bump up the power. So, you gotta keep that in mind too.